So good morning, everyone. Welcome to quarter two operational meeting for the FY25 Innovative Bridge and Transition Grant meeting. Most of you know who I am. I am Angela Gerberding. I'm the Director of Work-Based Learning here at ICCB and have been overseeing the grant for a little over a year now. So, and we've got some new faces. Emma, can you move to the next slide? So general agenda today, if you would please in the chat, put your name and your organization, because we want to make sure we know who's here and check in with who's not here and make sure we follow up with them to see if there's anything important that they need to know. Which of course there's always important information that you have to know from these meetings. So I say that in a jest. We'll do a brief review of the grant. We've wrapped up quarter two, and so most of you probably know about where you are, but we want to look at those. We're going to look at performance measure charts, quarter two reports. We're going to do some breakout rooms, so you all can talk to each other, come back to some report out from that, do a little bit more of informational items, and then questions and answers at the very end. But please know that if we are going through this and you have questions, you are welcome to type in the chat, raise your hand. I believe you can unmute. If it makes sense to ask the question right now, then it's easier for you, then go ahead and do that. We are recording this meeting. These slides and the recording will be put on, I believe it's ICSPS's website. And once that's all done, they will send me the link to where it all lives, and I will share that out with the listserv so you all can see slides and recording from today in case you have coworkers that couldn't be here or anything that way. So yes, these slides will be shared in the future. So next slide. So I mentioned we have a couple of new faces with us today. I've introduced myself. I will let Emma introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I have been with ICCB as the Assistant Director for Workforce Education a little bit over a month now. I've been able to talk to some of you, so it's been really great to kind of dive right into it. But I'm happy to be here with you all.
And like many of us, Emma will probably end up wearing multiple hats, but her primary hat is the IBT grant. So you will see her, hear from her, get emails from her. A lot of that will be happening. You're not losing me. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. We're just now a two-person team instead of a one-person team, which, as most of you know, can be a huge help. So, and then Brittany Boston has been with us before. She is with ICSPS. And then Dalton, I will let Dalton introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Dalton. I will be working with Brittany at ICSPS, and I just started last week, so jumping right in.
Yep. So we just wanted to just point out some names and faces. So if you're seeing people on here that you're like, I don't know who that is, or you get an email from someone, you're like, I don't know who that is. It's not spam. We are legit people that are asking you questions and need responses for things. So our team is growing. Yay. All right. So go ahead. Moving right along with target population. A lot of grantees have asked me over the years, who's our target population? Who are we allowed to serve? So 16 years of age or older. Not kidding. There are programs that serve 16 to 18-year-olds, and there are programs that have 55, 60, 70-year-olds. So really is any age span. They're either adults who are no longer enrolled in high school, or they are youth who are enrolled in high school, but they must be preparing to enter either post-secondary education or a training program. It can't just be a fun summer, let's learn to play the drums kind of thing. It needs to be it's got to be education the grant for that population has to be education focused or training program related, but it really is any age span. We don't have specific demographics. We don't have specific for disabilities or for racial or socioeconomic breakdowns, genders. It's a free for all. So if you're serving them and they count, we want to count them. Again, adults that are not enrolled in high school any longer. Sometimes those are individuals that are lacking academic and basic skills. Maybe they're underemployed or they're unemployed, and they're trying to enter and succeed at credit bearing post-secondary education and training. Again, that's another piece of the population that we serve. And we are looking for those to be high skill, high wage, in demand occupations. Just getting to be a front cashier at McDonald's is a great job, but that's not going to be your high skill, high wage, in demand sort of job. So that's a little bit more about the population that's not enrolled in high school. And then, like I said, the in-school youth, you can serve them. However, only if they are working on going on into post-secondary ed and or training following graduation. So they've got to have those two goals following their graduation purpose. All right. Grant objectives. These are straight out of the NOFO. So all of you, I know, have read the NOFO diligently multiple times in the last 6 months. But just to hit the highlights on these, objective 1 is doing adult education, bridge, and integrated education. We also refer to those as ICAPS in Illinois programming. You do not have to be adult ed funded to be in objective 1. Many of the programs are. While we're talking about that, I'm going to throw in one piece of information really quickly. I know adult ed funds at the federal level have been frozen recently. IBT is 100% state funding. So IBT money has not been frozen. We do not anticipate it being frozen. FY25 is good for this whole year. And the FY26 budget was approved from the state, and there's money in that for an IBT grant for the following year. So we anticipate running a grant cycle again, like we have before, for FY26. Beyond that, my crystal ball is broken. I do not know what 27 forward looks like because my crystal ball is broken. But do not worry that there's a freeze coming on IBT funds. They are not frozen, and they should not be because of federal rules, because it is 100% state dollars. All right. The next one, objective 2. This is a very broad objective, and this is dealing with transitions into college or college career pathways. And these could be, there's a lot of options. Curriculum alignment between secondary and post-secondary education could be between community colleges and four-year universities, a 2+2 agreement, some sort of graduate level work. Sometimes this involves dual credit programming, CTE, study development, career pathway endorsement activities, pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships fit into this section. So again, this is a pretty broad area objective. And so that's objective 2. Then we move on to objective 3, wraparound support services. This is another broad one. One of the good and the bad of this grant is it's very broad, which allows for lots of activities. But some of you that like nice, neat little boxes, when I was meeting with Dalton yesterday to kind of give him a heads up on IBT, this grant does not fit into a nice, neat little perfect box. There's lots of boxes with lots of shapes and lots of colors. And so wraparound support is one of them that fits into that area as well. It could include helping students transition from adult ed to remedial coursework, from credit to occupational programs, onto workplace. It could be academic advising, it could be tutoring, it could be study skills, it could be coaching, could be referral to individual support services like housing needs, transportation, childcare. There's all of these different parts and pieces that we know our students need because life happens. Oftentimes, if we lose students, it's because something happened outside of school in their life. They had a flat tire, a family member got ill, childcare fell through at the last minute. And so sometimes they just need a little bit of help getting over that hurdle to be able to stay in the program. And wraparound support services objective is one way that programs are able to do that with other funding that they've got to provide that continued support for students. And then objective 4 is transitions for students with disabilities. And so again, they're still transitioning somehow, either from high school to college, from high school to work, from college to work. There's still, what is that next step in the transition process for students with disabilities? And these could be all levels of disabilities. This is not limited to extreme or very minor. This is whatever level of disabilities your program's able to put the grant application together with. So those are the 4 objectives that go into this grant. Again, it's a broad grant. It serves lots of areas, lots of population. And it does, and you all are able to do that in lots of different ways that works best for your individual program and your structure that you've got going. Next slide. Emma, I believe this is you.
It is. So when I started with ICCB, I had the pleasure of looking through everyone's Q1 reports. And there were a couple things that stood out to me that I just want to make sure everybody is on the same page with, and is able to do for their Q2 reports and forward. So a lot of them looked fabulous. They were good to go. But one thing that I wanted to call out was that all performance measures on your quarter reports must match the ones that you submitted for your initial application. Performance measures do not change. You are tracking the same data across all the life of the grant. And you cannot add additional performance measures. They must remain the same as the initial application. Another piece is when recording your quarter reports, you should be using whole numbers, not percentages, not letters or narratives. It should progress through the quarters. If you don't have any activity for that performance measure, you can add a 0 or just leave it blank. Zeros do help as we're reviewing, but leaving it blank is totally fine if you didn't have any activity for that one. So just remember to make sure that you are using whole numbers in your performance measure reports as you're tracking. And lastly, just make sure you're using the template that's provided. That's really helpful to keep it uniform and formatted correctly, so that way we're all looking at the same pieces. The numbers can change, correct. So as you are going from quarter to quarter, those numbers will probably change. They'll either yeah, thank you, Angela. They can change based on the initial allocations. Also, if you need to significantly change your numbers, you'll need to do a scope change as well. Okay.
If you all have questions about what significant means, please reach out to MRI. We are happy to have conversations with you about, are you changing from 5 to 10? And for some programs, that is significant. For other programs, meh, it's just a little change in numbers. So if you've got questions and you think you may need to do some sort of scope change for something or a budget amendment, that's fine. Just reach out to us and let us know.
So speaking of templates, this is the template that you should be completing your reports for. And this one's probably more helpful. So here is an example. So in Q1, this performance measure of identified director of instructional services as the lead coordinator for College X dual credit program prior to having full-time program director. This program only, their goal was to hit one person added, one performance measure. So, and then at the end, they have another goal of adding in another one. So in their Q5, they would be adding a 1 there as well. You can see that these are all whole numbers, and there doesn't need to be a total at the end. We will do that addition for you and add them up across. So yeah, any questions about what the performance measures charts for each quarter should look like for your reports?
So the quarter reports go into Amplifund. Those are uploaded into Amplifund. And the goal when we built the template for the quarter reports, there's a quarter 1, 2, there are 5 tabs across the bottom. Tab 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for each quarter. And we have built the formula so it adds quarter 1 to your quarter 2 for a total. And that adds to quarter 3. So when Emma said we do the math for you, we do, as long as you add in the same document and you don't start a new document each quarter. So go back to that original document that you uploaded from quarter one. You're going to add quarter two and upload that in Amplifund. But yes, that gets uploaded in Amplifund. The fiscal report goes in Amplifund. All of those pieces go into Amplifund. Do not email those to Emma and I. If you do, we will send them back. We'll send you a lovely email that says, thank you. Now put these in Amplifund. And there were videos that were shared out on how to do that. If you cannot find that and you need that link again, reach out to us and we can share that easily.
And then we have our financial reports, quarterly financial reporting. Angela, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. The financial report is a document. This is not new this year. It was new last year. The grantee name goes in here at the top again. Please use your institutional name. So whether that's College of Lake County, I'm trying to look down my list and see who I can see. Danville Community College, that grantee, your official name is what goes in the grantee. Under program name, we need that to be, and down here, we lay all these out, needs to be IBT FY25 grant. We know that many of you have internal names for your programs. The Husky Grant, the Belong Grant, those are all wonderful names and they're great marketing and recruitment tools. Our fiscal department does not know what the Huskies Grant is. So when they get this report and they see Huskies Grant, they send out a mass email to all of ICCB and says, whose report is this and what are you trying to report on? So please use the program name IBT FY25 grant. It makes everyone's life easier on our end. Thanks. Your grant number in this box is going to be your grant agreement. For the report quarter, it's FY25 Q2. Your UEI is your institution's number that you guys have access to. I do not, so those are somewhere. There's been a little confusion over the last year about what goes in the term start date and term end date. Initially, I believed it was the quarter start and end date. I have been informed I was wrong. That's okay. So really, the term is the start date for the grant, which was January 1, 2025. And the term end date is the end of the grant, March 31, 2026. So again, once you plug these numbers in, you should not need to change these dates from quarter to quarter because they are they are what they are. Those dates don't change. So if you were one of those that I convinced to make it quarter, I apologize. That's my fault. So in the first column where it says grant expenditures for the quarter, you're going to plug in what you have expended this quarter already. The current approved budget is your current approved budget. I'm not sure how to explain that clearer. And your prior award expenditures is where you would add what you've already spent in quarter one. Here, when you do quarter three, it would be quarter one and quarter two add together. So hopefully the goal is the grant expenditures quarter plus your prior award gives you the remaining amount from your award balance and your percent remaining. And when we get these, Emma and I will be looking at, because we're at the end of quarter two, we will probably be reaching out to programs that have spent less than maybe 40% of their grant. We know it's a 5-quarter grant, so we're not exactly at halfway, and we know quarter one is always kind of a slow start in spending, but we may be reaching out to some of you and saying, okay, we see that you've only spent 10% of your grant. Do you have a plan for when are you going to be? We need you to make sure you're going to get all of your dollars spent within the grant cycle. So you can look at these. Please make sure these numbers all match with what you've got. Work with your fiscal department, make sure everybody's on the same page. But this is the report along with the programmatic report. These are the two documents that we will need uploaded into Amplifund. Yes, Chris, I see your comment in the chat. Extra Seasonings is a lovely, wonderful program, but we don't know what that means. Not everyone on our side knows what that is. Data collection. Emma, was this you?
I can talk about it, certainly.
Okay, go ahead.
So data collection. We are going to be, if you haven't seen it already or read about it in the NOFO, sending out a jot form link. That's just a survey about some data that will be collected annually at close of the year. So that's April 30th, 2026. And that goes along with your Q5 reports. We'll be looking for the demographics of the students that you served. So we're looking at gender, ethnicity, age, disability status, and veteran status.
And we did that this year already. So if you are a return grantee from 24 to 25, you've seen the JOT form. If you're new, do not panic. It really is, the categories really are broken out pretty significantly by, so gender is not just 2 boxes. I think there's a male, a female, a did not disclose, and maybe even something else. These these are just data points that we will need to collect at the end of the grant. So if your grant wraps up in December, you can submit in December. If it doesn't wrap up until March, you can submit after that. But we don't have a link in here yet because as I referenced, some of you are FY24 grantees as well, and we're trying to get that one wrapped up and closed before we send out the 25 one because we don't need the 25 one yet. So because you only report these specific data points one time at the end, otherwise you end up with duplicated numbers, which we don't need duplicated numbers. We need individual numbers. So we will be sending out that link, but just as a heads up, make sure you're collecting these data points from your students that you're serving. Okay.
All right, elevator pitch. Go ahead and give me some sort of reaction.
Emma, can I interrupt really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we've covered a lot of information so far. Do we have any questions? Again, you can put them in the chat. I feel like we've covered this fairly quickly, and maybe we have. You can raise your hand. We want you guys to have the information that you need to successfully run this grant because we need you all to spend all of your dollars on this grant. Okay.
Well, if you
Not
guys do
seeing
have
anything.
questions, yeah, go ahead and drop them in the chat or just come off mute, stop us at any time. So elevator pitches. Go ahead and give me some sort of Zoom reaction, raised hand, a smiley face, a heart, whatever you want to do if you've heard of the term elevator pitch. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. Yeah, so it's a pretty common term, I would say. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But to give a brief description, an elevator pitch is a brief but persuasive speech that really piques interest in what your program does. Typically, you hear elevator pitches talking about yourself, but today we are going to practice talking about your programs. Your elevator pitch should be no longer than 60 seconds. Typically, it's between 30 and 60 seconds in length, and it clearly conveys the value of your program. So in a moment, I'm going to share some slides that show some breakout rooms. And in your breakout rooms, what you're going to be doing is you're going to brainstorm a little bit first, and then you're going to think about the following questions. What makes your program unique? What skills or competencies do your graduates bring to the workplace? What kind of partnership or engagement are you seeking? And why should this employer or potential partner care? So, like I said, we're going to go into some breakout rooms. You're going to formulate your elevator pitches. After we end the breakout rooms, we will then come back. I'll ask for some brave volunteers to share out their elevator pitch, but no pressure. You do not need to if you're not feeling brave today. So we're going to be broken up by objective. And so for objective 1, we have this group. I'm not going to read them all off, but feel free to check out if you are in group 1, that'll be breakout room 1 or objective 1.
And as Emma said, if you all need to brainstorm together and chit chat first about what does make your program unique, what makes you special, why is extra seasonings extra seasonings? Why that title? Great. Have that conversation. And then work individually on your groups if you want to. So Emma, can you go back? Because that was objective. Okay, sorry, she's putting that in the chat. I know what she's doing.
Yes. Exactly what I'm doing. So those are the questions. So you guys have them to look in and look at while you're in your breakout sessions.
Okay, group 2. And the 2A, 2D, 2Bs, 2Cs that you see are, as I mentioned, 2 is that broad-based objective. And so this is how everybody originally self-selected on your application. There's
Objective 3.
3.
And small but mighty, objective 4.
That's right. So I'm not sure who Brittany or Dalton are going to open breakout rooms. You should be able to select your breakout room that you're in. Emma and I will not be joining a breakout room, just so you all can work individually and do what you need to do and chat. Let's try to come back. So it's 10:30, let's say 11:15.
All right. I hope everybody had a fruitful conversation in developing your elevator pitches for your program. Before we do some reflecting, I would love if we had a few people share out their elevator pitches if you're feeling so brave. I'll just give you guys the floor.
Some of you know I will call on you.
I'm new here. I feel like I can't do that quite yet. So feel free, Angela.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Chantel Savage Bryan. I am the Director of Adult Education and Literacy at Danville Area Community College. We use Objective 1. It expands our ICAPS offering. I shared with the group that it was kind of a happy accident how we have kind of reconfigured the way that we're doing the program. The goal was to start offering the college level certificate programs in our in our spring semester, but due to funding and announcements and things like that, as well as trying to coordinate with our various partners across the campus, we were unable to start offering, the college level courses until the summer and moving forward in the fall. So we used the first quarter and early second quarter to focus on those students earning their high school diploma. That way, because the goal was to do like a dual enrollment situation. So if they're able to focus on the high school diploma, earn that, then they'll move on into the college level courses. And we felt like that would set them up for success and maybe not, so much stress trying to do, both or whatever. So that's worked for us thus far. We have a lot of various partners on campus and outside of campus. We offer an array of opportunities for students in the healthcare arena. So farm tech, CNA, public health billing management, phlebotomy, as well as direct service professionals. We also offer welding, HVAC, auto mechanics, and we're looking to get into the culinary space. And then we have a partner to do early childhood development with Champaign Regional Planning. They have Head Start centers in Vermilion County. So in addition to earning the high school diploma and providing that necessary instruction, we provide bridge classes in specific areas, healthcare related, manufacturing, HVAC, blah, 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 as well as providing professional and personal development for those soft skills, interviewing skills, just to ensure that they are properly ready to transition into that professional workforce or whatnot. We're lucky where we have a multitude of partners. Our local WIOA board is definitely on board with what we're doing. And we also work with our local community action to help those individuals who are income eligible, and they may be able to provide provide support when it comes to tuition and fees and things like that to ensure that we stretch our dollar. I think that's it. So thank you.
Um, I can go from Chicago Youth Programs. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm Dr. Jodica. I'm the volunteer CEO of Chicago Youth Programs, and I'll give my elevator speech on the entire organization rather than just the teens and college students because it's hard for me to separate that out.
Sure.
But Chicago Youth Programs mission is to improve the long-term life opportunities of at-risk, economically disadvantaged youth and teens. Our services begin as early as preschool, and they do not end until each child receives the college or trade degree necessary to realize a life and a career out of poverty. Programs operate very efficiently with over 350 volunteers and with a large use of donated space. And the programs are very effective. Our youth and teens in our program get the college or trade degree they need to rise above poverty at rates 5 times community comparisons.
Good.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to test out their elevator pitch? All right, totally fine. So I just have 3 questions in reflection of your elevator pitches that you have developed. What felt most challenging about the pitch? How might you adjust your pitch depending on the partner? And what support or data would help you to strengthen your message? So what I would love is for you guys to just take a second. You can feel free to come off mute, drop your response to one or all of the questions in chat. But I just want to get a little bit of feedback from you. I'd imagine that one challenge would be fitting all the amazing things that you're doing into 60 seconds. That I can already tell, would be an area that I personally would struggle with. So go ahead and drop your responses in chat or feel free to come off mute and we can just have a little conversation about what this experience was like for you.
I'll answer here, if that's okay. So took a look a little bit at our grant language before the elevator pitch because that, kind of proposed all the programming that we were going to be putting in place through the IBT program. And, some of the other programs in our breakout room talked about well, they had built new programs specifically for this grant, whereas ours at Poder, where I work, are more of a kind of expansion of smaller, again, we're an objective 3, so we're doing wraparound and holistic support. So we have digital skills classes and financial empowerment, financial coaching. So we just expanded those programs. So we were I'm trying to think of ways to put in the increase, right, in the statistical impact, separating that from well, we already did this and now it's just made it bigger. So kind of deciding how to structure that argument in the elevator pitch is a little bit of the challenge, as opposed to just saying, here's what we want to do, right, in the grant language. It's just tying that to the actual statistical increase, which is the tricky part.
Right. And some of that leads to the second question on there about how do you adjust your pitch depending on your partner? Are you trying to sell this to students for them to join? In which case you need a different sort of significant increase because students don't care that you added 25 students this year from last year. They want to know that 90% of them earned the certificate or got the job or whatever that is. Where when you're talking to maybe your internal partner trying to convince them to come talk to the class about something. Oh, but we do have 25 more students this year. They do care that there are more students because now they get to count those additional touch points as well as you get to count. So again, sometimes looking at those numbers, you may need to the general pitch, you're still doing the great work, but how do you report it out may shift depending on who your audience is. And so it is difficult to sometimes get those data points as to what does this look like and what does that mean. The other point behind an elevator pitch is you have it in your back pocket that you're ready to go. So like Chantal said, her message is on lock in the chat. She's done it. She knows it. She can repeat it. And it's one of those things that it's called an elevator pitch because it's a short, but it's also could happen in an elevator. I mean, you don't know who's going to step into the elevator with you when you're writing to the doctor's office. And now suddenly you've got a funder that you're like, oh, we do cool stuff. Okay, well, that's not selling them. You got to be able to pull it out. So part of having an elevator pitch is having those pieces already kind of organized and put together and go, okay, for students, we need this. For employers, we need this. For internal partners, we need this. For parents, depending on who you're talking to with students, you may need parents or spouses. We need this. And so all of those different audiences can play a role.
I shared in my group that I've given my elevate. I mean, I've worked in the same department over the course of 8 years and just shifted my role. And I shared that my elevator pitch has been given so many times that at this point, my husband can do the elevator pitch in some capacity. So when people ask him, what does your wife do for a living? He has like his broad answer, but then when they hone in on different things, he'll give them that narrow version of what my program is or what my department does. So I kind of agree, like I've got mine locked in, but one of the hardest things is as IBT has allowed us to grow, it's adding in, like you said, those wonderful things, but still keeping it engaging enough that they want to ask more questions, but not so much information that like you lost them within the first 10 seconds. So trying not to talk over their head and make sure that it's within the scope of who I'm talking to.
Yep. And something else that I've heard in various arenas that I work in is you've got to make sure you're using the same language that your audience understands. I mean, we're in education, so we start talking about pedagogy and methodology and the philosophical parts behind these things, and employers go, the what? I don't know what you're talking about. And so you do have to make sure that you're speaking the same language that your audience is. Brian, to your point, like if you're talking about students, they want to hear who completed, who got the certificate. They don't care additional numbers and percent gains on post-test rates. They're like, yeah, whatever. How many of them got a job and how many of those jobs are paying better? So you got to make sure you're speaking the same language that your audience is looking for. Anybody else want to share? So, Brian, you said you're looking for some data. Do you think the data from the JOT form that Prodair will have submitted will be useful data, or do you need to collect other data? But you're muted, so if you're giving me an amazing answer, I cannot hear it.
Right. I respectfully went off onto mute. I'm, I need to kind of find what was in the job form because that wasn't something I handle traditionally. It's more of like I probably a mixture of both. In fact, yeah.
And really that was part of the purpose of today, was getting you all started on thinking this. We knew that after 30 minutes you were not going to have cut and dried, here you go, ready to walk out the door elevator pitch, but getting you thinking about what do we need? What can we collect? What do we already have? And who can I use these with?
All right. Well, thank you all for engaging with that. I hope it was a useful tool. And like Angela just said, getting your wheels kind of turning and spinning on what your elevator pitch can be. Okay, some housekeeping informational items. So fiscal, your quarterly reports are done within Amplifund. And you should have 2 uploads. So your second quarterly report is due July 30th. And budget mods are also done within Amplifund. No payment requests were received up front for that. Okay, if you have any questions about budget modification, I'm going to share a video shortly, but if you have any additional questions, you can come to Angela and I, but we also have Chris on the call, not to put you on the spot, Chris, but here's his email if you have any logistics questions for budget modifications. So give me 1 second. Let me reshare my screen, get this video queued up. Oh, I don't have access anymore. I will share out this video in an email. Make sure you guys all have access to it because I don't have access right now. We have professional development meetings. Our next one is going to be August 19th, and that's the same time that this meeting occurs. I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Professional development meetings. These are not mandatory, but it's recommended that you join, and we would love to have you all there. We are talking about CTE offerings on August 19th. In September, there will not be a 10 to 11 a.m. professional development meeting since we have the Forum for Excellence going on that week. November 18th, we are talking about college readiness. Again, not mandatory, but really highly recommend that you all join. And then
So
operation.
Can I add something really quickly?
Yeah.
If you go back one screen on that Forum of Excellence, you can use travel money from IBT grant to go to Forum of Excellence as long as there is a way that it connects to your grant activities. Just putting that out there. Go ahead.
Thank you. Operational meetings. So we have our next operational meeting October 21st, and that'll be from 10 to 11:30. That one is mandatory. These last two operational meetings are mandatory. The last operational meeting is January 20th. And then February 17th, that will be our closeout meeting. It is not mandatory, but that would be the last time that we are meeting for this grant, life of this grant. So just, yeah, come join us. Questions? Okay, there's no questions.
There are a couple in the chat. Nothing,
Oh.
nothing pressing and urgent.
Okay. So, question. Fiscal year 24. Okay. All right.
And to be clear, Meg's question about the admin meeting on September 16th, that's for adult ed. That is not IBT. So if some of you on this call are like, what is she talking about on September 16th? That's not IBT specific, so don't be confused.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused with that one too. So thanks
Yeah,
for
I could see the look on
clarifying.
Emma's face, and I was like, oh, I need to explain what that is.
Yeah.
If Emma's confused, others are as well. That just because she's so new.
Just a newbie. Well, thank you all for being here. We'll stick around for a little bit. If anybody wants to stay back and ask any questions or just hang out, feel free. Thank you all for joining and have a great rest of your week.